Thanks very much, Kamal. Well, one of the issues most sharply dividing Israelis and Palestinians is the so-called right of return to Israel by refugees from the 1948 and 1967 wars. Most of the property they abandoned has been held in trust by the Israeli government. But now that trust is being broken. As Dan Nolan reports from Haifa, Israel is now selling those same Palestinian properties to private buyers.
When Al-Borz Street in Haifa was part of Palestine, its sweeping views made it one of the city's most sought-after addresses. Now part of Israel, the renamed Liberation Street is undergoing a painful transformation. Number 15 is the latest Arab home put up for sale by the Israel Land Administration. Others nearby have already been bought by Israelis, renovated and rented out as offices. Now exiled in Lebanon, 81-year-old Abdul Latif Kanafani had no idea his father's home was up for sale until we showed him a photo.
My God.
He spent the first 20 years of his life in number 15 and is concerned about what the new owners might do.
I am worried. I'm worried about every stone in the house. Every door, every window, every ceiling. The house is part of me.
Israel calls homes like these absentee properties, houses and land belonging to the 700,000 Palestinians who left or were expelled when Israel was created in 1948. They're supposed to be held in trust by the Israel Land Administration until a final resolution is agreed. But an advocacy group fighting for Arab rights in Israel has discovered that's not happening. According to Adalah, 96 absentee properties were sold to private owners in 2007, followed by 106 a year later and another 80 in the 6 months so far this year. If these properties remain held by the State of Israel, there's still a chance those Palestinians who fled or were expelled could one day return. But once they're sold to private owners, that right of return is virtually eliminated. The head of Adalah says selling refugee properties seized during war violates both Israeli and international law.
The irony and the absurd that what we are trying to keep, that to say to Israel, keep the absentee property in your hand and don't give it to private hands. Because the claim of the Palestinian refugee can come just vis-à-vis Israel.
Israel's Land Administration refused our interview requests, but a spokesperson said the sales are legal based on an amendment to an Israeli law passed in 1960. Abdul Latif Kanafani says at his age he has no chance of ever returning to Haifa, but he believes his descendants will, even if their home is sold.
Well, the right of return continues to be the right of return. It is not affected. What the Jews are doing now is they're dealing in stolen property.
Adalah is now working on a Supreme Court bid to challenge the legitimacy of the sales and to stop any more. Dan Nolan, Al Jazeera, Haifa, Northern Israel.
Suhad Bishara is a lawyer with Adalah, the Arab minority rights group seen in that report. He joins us live from Jerusalem. Give us an idea of the scale of this issue.
Yes, back right after the establishment of the State of Israel and following international criticism and pressure on Israel concerning the refugees' properties, Israel has issued a clarification to the UN, basically clarifying that Israel is holding the refugees' properties under their custody as a temporary status until the issue of the Palestinian refugees is resolved.
So up until recently, they were actually doing that. Is that right?
Definitely. A lot of the properties were leased but were never sold until recently. In the past 2 years, they started basically to publish tenders for the public in Israel to come and privately own and buy these properties, which de facto means the final and eternal confiscation of these lands to the benefit of the Israeli society.
So what do you think made that happen? What was the reason behind this change in policy?
Well, I think it's a lot of issues. The main one, of course, is the political, that Israel, through this, is trying to create another factual ground which will eternally frustrate any attempts or potential attempts in the future to fairly and justly resolve the issue of the Palestinian refugees. Basically, this means that no Palestinian refugee will be able to claim his property back in any way, directly by practicing the right of return, or indirectly by practicing the right to own the property in the future, because once it's passed to the private...
I just want to put to you what the spokesperson for the Israeli Land Administration told us. He said that while a 1960 law prevents the sale of refugee homes, a follow-up bill passed the same year includes 7 exceptions, one of which allows the sale of absentee property if it's in an urban area and under 20,000 hectares. Is it your impression that it's only in those circumstances that these are being sold, or are other places being sold as well, regardless of that definition?
Basically, what's being sold so far is Palestinian refugees' properties in the Israeli cities. That includes Haifa, Akka, Yafa, Ramli, Lid, Jerusalem, and the other cities in Israel. We're talking about buildings that still exist and managed to survive 60 years since the establishment of Israel until now. Mainly, we are talking so far about buildings in the Israeli cities that still remain.
Okay, Suhad Bishara, thank you very much indeed for updating us on that story.